Good morning, everyone. So, in the series of civil services examination strategy, we yesterday dealt with preliminary strategy, and today we'll deal with the mains. So, in here, in mains strategy, we'll deal it paper wise. So, first of all, we'll deal with GS1 mains. So, GS1 mains has many subjects, many subjects which we'll deal separately according to the sources, according to the answer writing practice, the kind of questions that are asked, and the weightage according to the subject, right? So, first of all, please take out your syllabus. So, at every point of time, you should always have GS mains syllabus on your tip, right? And one more thing that I want to say here is we will not recommend you unnecessarily many books, as many people do that. No, we most importantly, yeah, most probably we'll deal with only the sources that we have already done in preliminary examination. What is more important is how do you leverage and how do you apply those things which you've already read. You do not have to read anything separately for mains unless it is something which is not there in preliminary examination. There we'll recommend notes or videos or whatever there is. Bare minimum thing, concise sources would be the preference. Okay. So सबसे पहले what we have here is Indian culture. Indian culture. Now please remember what have we read in preliminary for this particular topic. आर्ट एंड कल्चर के लिए हमने प्रिलिमिनरी एग्जाम के लिए क्या पढ़ा था. What we did was basic NCERT books, old NCERTs and new NCERTs, and over and above that a little from CCRT or some kind of help जो कि topics हमारे NCERTs में given नहीं थे, like puppets and paintings and everything. That is there in preliminary video. You can check that out if you are if you've not seen it yet. So here again, I'll recommend you these books again. And when I say this was my strategy. I'm giving you that disclaimer. This is how I did it, and I find it that it completely suffices. In fact, I was able to score very good marks because of this thing. Why? Because I did not read many books. I read those number of books which were important, which were there, जहाँ से question पूछा जा रहा था, and revised them and put in my thought process rather than mugging them up. Okay. So Indian culture के लिए I'll recommend you first of all themes in Indian history books, which is called new NCERT, ancient medieval. Ancient medieval. They comprehensively deal with entire Indian culture. Okay. More if you want to do more, then introduction to Indian culture. Introduction to Indian culture. This is again NCERT. This is NCERT of art and culture. Not many people read it. This is a read book. +1 or +2 ka, I guess it's there, part 1 and part 2. But it deals with topics like temple architecture. It starts right from Paleolithic age, and then it deals only the art and architecture part of our history. Right from Paleolithic to Mesolithic, then your Indus Valley civilization, then your Vedic civilization, Jainism, Buddhism, then up till Guptas and Harshas, then people in the Chola Pandya Chera people in South, up till medieval era. And usme bhi it deals topic wise, like temple architecture, painting, Ajanta Ellora caves, Jainism, Buddhism, Bhakti movement, Sufi movement. So these three books combined will give you enough material for any question which is asked. Okay. Let me give you an example. Let's take some question from this year or from last year, from art and culture part, and we'll try to answer them from these books. Okay, one thing that I forgot was to tell you that whenever we read anything in mains examination, first thing that we'll do is see the weightage, analyze paper, and see how many questions are coming from that subject. So according to that, you put in your effort. For 2 questions, I will never tell you to read another book of 200 or 400 pages. I will never tell you to read, okay, please read Nitin Singhania for this. No, NCERT is enough. This is what you've already done in preliminary. So this must be on your tips. So if you give it one revision, you can directly go up to the answer writing strategy. Okay, because you would not need any other source, right? So 2 to 3 question is what we are targeting here from Indian culture part. This is your source, and now I am giving you example that how do we answer question. So now when I say ki this is what you have to read, this will give you raw facts. Okay, raw facts from Indian culture. Now what your effort is to use that knowledge, that bare minimum knowledge, to put a larger picture. Okay, to connect different phases of Indian history to the context of question. This comes with lot of practice. This part is easy. To read these 3 books is very, very easy. But to evolve that into understanding the need of the question and to put down that precise material which is asked in question is where the answer writing practice comes in picture. We will make a separate video for answer writing, but here, since I want to focus on the fact that these books are enough and you do not have to go to another source, we will take some kind of question. Okay. So this year's first question, GS1, first question of paper, evaluate the nature of Bhakti literature and contribution to Indian culture. What is it asking? Nature of Bhakti literature and its contribution. I am just writing keywords of paper. What do we do in paper? While we attempt a question, we always underline keywords so that you always have it in mind. What is the exact context of the question? What is the demand of the question? And you do not, wander here and there. You always have to write what is asked in question, not what you know. Okay. Nature of Bhakti literature, contribution. These are the 3 words. This is a 10 marker. Means you have to write 150 words on it. Now, let me tell you. First, I will locate this question. ये कहाँ पर है? This is in here. You can go and check. This is, I guess, chapter 2. Chapter 2, yes. Chapter 2 of medieval book of themes in Indian history. This chapter deals very, very nicely with entire Bhakti and Sufi movement, and especially it lays focus upon the literature part, right? So Bhakti movement, as you all know, it was a state-wise phenomena. So there were Bhakti saints who were associated with different states, with different regional languages, and came out with different kind of literature, right? So when they ask you nature of Bhakti literature, what kind of literature was there? You have to give example. First, you have to form the uh, point. What was the nature of Bhakti? Maybe you give the heading. Nature of Bhakti literature. Directly you give the heading. That is what is asked in question, right? Then you write use of regional languages. That was the first and the foremost significance of Bhakti movement's literature, because it was first in the history, because before that Sanskrit language was used, and that was the language of elite people. It would exclude masses. They would never understand, isn't it? So if they wouldn't understand, how would they, how would they participate in it? And since religion was a huge thing about people's lives and it would affect every sphere of life, common masses was completely excluded from it. It was only about either priestly class or ruling class. That's why first point is regional languages. Nature of Bhakti literature was the intense use of regional languages, which led to development of many, many regional languages like Kannada and Marathi and Abhramisha, all kind of. So you give examples. Now you have to give evidence to your step. Now this is your point, your first point. In your first heading, we deal with this heading and then we deal with the contribution of Bhakti literature. That is the bifurcation of your answer. Within the first heading, this is your first point. You've given the examples of the regional languages that were used. Now you give example of the literature. Like if you remember, in Assam, there was Sankar Dev, the Bhakti saint. He used Bor Geets, isn't it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in West Bengal, his literature. Mirabai, Surdas, Raidas, they used to use Braj Bhasha, Khadi Boli. That. Then Veer Shaiv movement was very, very, flagship movement within the Bhakti sphere. They would use Kannada, and their literature's name was Vachanas. Then there was Pandharpur movement in Maharashtra, and there was this entire South Indian movements as well. है ना? So you can write state-wise as well, regional languages, name of the Bhakti literature, that thing. Then this is the use of language. In what language was it written? Then what was its material? What would be the subject that they would deal with? That is the second part in the nature of Bhakti literature. What would they deal with? So from many ritualistic aspect of religion, they would go more with a personal devotion of God with the devotee. That is what Bhakti and Sufi movement would propound, right? And that was for common masses. That was, viable for people like us, who were not ruling class or who were not priestly class, but they wanted to be a part of a social movement, excluded Hiduto, but then became the part. So second would be subject material. Subject material may be, you can give example again. Suppose Mirabai, her intense devotion to Lord Krishna, her Geet in Khadi Boli, right? That was the kind of subject material. Then you write Alvars and Nayanars. You write the name of their literature. What was that? Nalayara, Divya Prabandhanam and Tevaram. These are also mentioned here. Chapter 2 of Medieval. You can go back and see, right? So I am just trying to tell you that what UPSC is making a question, this seems difficult on outset, but if you read the right sources, you can very well capture that, and then, answer writing practice, and you are there. You can, you can even write this question in 15 marks. There's so much stuff. Likewise, in contribution as well, what do we write as the contribution of Bhakti literature? What was the contribution? So as I told you, first contribution was to include the masses, people like, low caste people, women who were not allowed to read, Sanskritic literatures, who were not allowed to participate in any kind of rituals. Bhakti and Sufi movement would include them all, and that was why they become so famous. Bhakti and Sufi, it was not a single movement. It was a culmination of small interstate movements done through different people, different leaders in different states, or saints in different states, not leaders. And then an entire wave of Bhakti tradition was formed. As I told you, statewide. Contribution. Okay. These kind of things that we write in contribution. Then you write what was the impact in society. Society became more egalitarian, isn't it? There was this Buddhism and Jainism that was also opposed by Bhakti movement. How did it affect ruling class? What kind of policies did they form? How did it lead to, beautiful mosaic culture where, Islamic, Sufism, all those teachings, and our Bhakti movement's teaching also, mixed up and provided a very nice philosophical tradition to Indian society. That is the contribution. And there also you mention examples. जैसे Sufism में भी there's this psalm, जहाँ पर कवालीज वगैरह, they sing कवालीज, and music is considered a part. Music is considered a device to connect devotee to the devotee to God, or to whoever you are worshipping in Sufism. Same is there in Bhakti as well. They would also use music, right? Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hai, ya Mirabai again. Use of music, use of regional folk music to connect with Lord. Okay. And then examples like focus on charity, right? यहाँ भी जैसे हमारे यहाँ जैसे यूसी, अगर पंजाब साइड में अगर आप देखोगे, भक्ति मूवमेंट लेड बाय गुरु नानक देव, वहाँ पर जैसे आपका चैरिटी फूड होता है, लंगर होता है, सिमिलर काइंड ऑफ प्रोसीजर वाज देयर इन सूफीज्म एज वेल. जो सूफी दरगाह होती थी, वहाँ पे एनीबडी वुड गो एंड हैव अ मील. ओके, so teachings were same. You give the comparison, you tell how different religions, culminated into this Bhakti movement and give a very strong foundation to Indian society. Contributions is like that. So this was one example. The question was asked right this year, and again you can go and check this question. It's exactly there. Contributions is written, examples is written. Okay. Now we are dealing with modern history. Modern history में first of all, sources are the same. Either you take NCRT, you take spectrum, whatever we have done in preliminary examination. Sources are again the same. So up till now, we have not told you any separate source for mains examination. Only the thinking part, the strategy part, the way you answer the question differs. Source is all the same, right? Modern history में this is enough. This is again giving you told you 2 to 3 questions. यहाँ पर आप but prelims में again we just deal with the raw facts. Here you try to connect pictures, right? And वो कैसे होगा? वो आप previous year question देखेंगे and then first of all you try to answer with whatever knowledge you have. Suppose this was this one previous year question that you have to tell the contribution of Gandhian era in independence. है ना? Now you have all the facts. You have right from your when he came back to country, right from those 3 movements, Ahmedabad, Kheda, Champaran, up till non-cooperation, then civil disobedience and Quit India movement, and the related facts. All of that you know. But how will you apply that in that particular question matters, right? So you will write how it led to inclusion of masses. First, it is just a elitist movement. जहाँ तक moderates थे हमारे, the participation of masses was not much, right? How did it become how did it usher in a different kind of strategy, non-violent and truth वाला strategy जो Gandhian age का हमारा सबसे बड़ा contribution था. That. So those kind of, how did it provide leadership? How did it lead to an understanding of British era? All of those points, right? So again, this we will deal in answer writing, but for now, I'm just telling you that the sources are same in modern history as well, right? Modern Indian history about the middle of the 18th century until the present, significant events, personalities, issues, and then freedom struggle. This is the I'm just reading out the syllabus, right? इसके बाद है हमारे पास post independence. पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस में क्या होता है? पोस्ट independence consolidation and reorganization within the country is what is mentioned in syllabus. Now usually either one question is asked or 2 questions are asked depending on the year and the trend that UPSC is following. Now post independence अगर आप ऐसे देखोगे, it's very very huge, and if you see Bipin Chandra's book, which is usually our reference book for post independence, it's not there in NCRT. So अगर हम बिपिन चंद्रा देखें, it's I guess it's a 500-page book, very thick book, yellow book. India since independence is the book I'm talking about. It's a very very nice book if you have time. Like if you are a beginner, for example, if you just started the preparation, you have all the time to read it. आप हर रोज एक चैप्टर पढ़ लीजिए, हर रोज 2 chapters पढ़ लीजिए. That will suffice, and it gives you a very very good understanding of how country's administration is run, what were the difficulties that were faced by early leaders, and how did they come to solution of all those problems, and how did we become what we are today. It's a very good book. But again, if you are somebody let us say जिनका की first time prelims clear हुआ and you just have 3 months for mains, तो वहाँ पर आपको थोड़ा सा shortcut चाहिए. Then you go for any notes. आप यहाँ चाहे विजन के नोट्स ले लीजिए, किसी भी कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट के नोट्स ले लीजिए पोस्ट इंडिपेंडेंस के, मस्ट बी ऑफ अराउंड 50 to 70 पेजेस. उसमें आपके इम्पोर्टेंट टॉपिक्स कवर हो जाएंगे, एंड देन यू सी दी प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस. Because at every point of time, whenever you read something for mains examination, you always have to keep in mind कि इस knowledge का use कैसे होगा paper में, right? You just do not have to read and read and read. No, that will not suffice in mains examination. That might, help you in prelims examination, because there is what when we deal with the, expanded knowledge base, not here. Okay? So you do the notes, you do the previous year question. But I would say if you have slightest of time, please read a little. There are 3-4 topics, 3-4 chapters which are very very important. So even if you you refer to notes here, do not forget to read chapters like land reforms, because यहाँ से direct question आ जाता है. Land reforms के I guess बिपिन चंद्रा में there are 3 chapters. 10 pages each is 30 pages, which is at least 1 or 1.5 hour read. It's very very simplified language in this book. Even the font is large, तो आपको ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लगेगा. लैंड रिफॉर्म्स चैप्टर है, इसके बाद कॉपरेटिव्स वाला चैप्टर है. एंड कॉपरेटिव्स एज अ टॉपिक इज़ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दिस ईयर एज वेल, बिकॉज सो मेनी चेंजेस हुए हैं कॉपरेटिव सेक्टर में. एंड 2021 मेंस में क्वेश्चन नहीं आया है, सो इट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर पेपर 2 एज वेल. GS2 एंड GS1 किसी में भी पूछा जा सकता है. सो दिस टॉपिक इज, आई विल मार्क अ स्टार हियर, लाइक यू कैन नॉट अफोर्ड टू लीव दिस टॉपिक. ओके, इसके बाद हमारा रीऑर्गेनाइजेशन ऑफ स्टेट्स वाला चैप्टर है. In fact, the question has been already asked in 2021 means, difficulties that were faced while the reorganization of states was going on. How did we reach to that? Who were the leaders? How was it carried out? All of that. And lastly, communalism. Communalism pe bhi, I guess, 1 or 2 chapters hai, and this sometimes it directly comes. We will deal with this topic in society part of paper 1 as well. So this becomes your basic read for even there, right? This is your post independence part. We always have to keep in mind that we are working with only 1 to 2 questions here. उसी हिसाब से आपको टाइम देना है. Maybe 2 days 3 days is enough, because notes होते हैं आपके, that's around 50 pages, can be done very very easily. You just have to paint a larger picture since independence to up till this date, whatever has been done. यहाँ पे आप political part को easily छोड़ सकते हो. All the Congress वाला part, the regional parties वाला part, it deals, that is a huge section in the book. You can completely डिस्कार्ड दैट सेक्शन. यहाँ पे इनफैक्ट उसकी जगह आप इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट है जो, वो वाले चैप्टर्स को आप देखिए, कैसे हम स्टेट इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट है राइट फ्रॉम सोवियत एरा से, जब हमने इंस्पिरेशन लिया और हम सोशलिस्ट काइंड ऑफ इकोनॉमी से कैसे कैसे हम 1992 रिफॉर्म्स के बाद, हाउ डिड वी बिकम इंटीग्रेटेड विद द वर्ल्ड, हाउ डिड ग्लोबलाइजेशन केम इन द पिक्चर, है ना, ऑल दैट. कैपिटलिस्टिक इकोनॉमी हम कैसे बने हैं. वी आर नॉट रियली फुली कैपिटलिस्टिक एज ऑफ नाउ, बट स्टिल दैट वाज कंप्लीटली स्टेट ओरिएंटेड अर्लियर. सो इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट वाला चैप्टर भी, एंड दिस इज गोइंग टू हेल्प यू इन GS पेपर 3 एज वेल, राइट. प्लानिंग वाला जो चैप्टर, प्लानिंग एंड डेवलपमेंट इज द सिलेबस का टर्म विच इज गिवन इन GS3. तो आपको हमेशा कंसोलिडेट करना है सिलेबस को. अगर आपको सिलेबस याद रहेगा तो यू वुड बी एबल टू कनेक्ट इट टू दी डिफरेंट टॉपिक्स इन डिफरेंट पेपर्स, एंड आपका जो रिपीटिशन होता है एफर्ट का वो अवॉइड हो जाएगा. ओके, लाइक दिस वाज देयर इन सोसाइटी एज वेल, दिस इज देयर इन GS3's economic part as well, and always questions are asked from this. Always, if you see GS3, when we'll deal with GS3, I'll tell you as well. Okay, this is post independence. Now we have world history. Again, only 1 question, maximum 2 questions, sometimes none. Okay, जैसे 2020 में एक भी क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा गया वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री से, यूजुअली एक क्वेश्चन पूछा जाता है. इसमें भी आप क्या कीजिए, लाइक इफ़ यू सी वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री, इट्स वेरी वेरी बल्कि. ऑप्शनल वाले लोग भी आई गेस उतना डिटेल में नहीं पढ़ते होंगे, बट दिस इज़ वेरी वेरी ह्यूज. ओके, उसके लिए भी आई वुड प्रेफर, लाइक आई कैन टेल यू बुक्स एज वेल. नॉर्मल लॉ बुक है, अगर आप पढ़ना चाहें तो बहुत सारी बुक्स हैं, but again, for 2 questions I would not like to suggest you that you go through a 500 to 700 pages book, because उसके बाद भी क्या होगा, even after reading that book you'll be able to get the entire story whatever happened, but to put that entire story in 150 to 250 words would still be difficult, right? आपको उतनी ही नॉलेज चाहिए, उतने ही फैक्ट्स चाहिए, उतनी ही पिक्चर चाहिए जो कि आपके लिए क्वेश्चन के लिए इम्पॉर्टेंट है, राइट. वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री के लिए फिर आप क्या करें, या तो आप किसी इंस्टीट्यूट के नोट्स ले लीजिए वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री के लिए. अगेन बालियान के नोट्स ठीक हैं, बहुत अच्छे नहीं हैं. बाजीराम के नोट्स भी ठीक हैं, ओझा सर के नोट्स, यूजुअली पीपल डू रेफर दैट, दे आर क्वाइट नाइस. उससे भी छोटा आपको अगर करना है, स्पेशली यहाँ पे मैं स्टार लगा रही हूँ, especially for people again who just have 3 to 4 months to write mains examination and they have not done world history, because prelims में world history नहीं होता है. So this is where we deal with world history for the first time. And when you have 3 months, you do not have time to go through an entire book. Okay. यहाँ पे there's this very nice notes of previous year topper Shreyans Kumar. His handwritten notes. He was rank 4 in 2019. Okay. I myself read them. Very very nice notes, very concise, crisp. Just उन्होंने pointers लिखे हैं and depending on the syllabus, like जो lines हैं syllabus की, you have to deal with them. Like I'll read them out. Industrial Revolution, World Wars, redrawal of national boundaries, colonization, decolonization, political philosophies like communism, capitalism, socialism, their forms and effects on the society. Okay. So this will suffice. थोड़ा सा NCERT में भी है. A little part, I guess, class 10's NCERT or so, class 10 or class 9. Class 10 or class 9 NCERT. Okay, a little is there. तो उसको भी आप एक बार देख लीजिएगा because NCERT की directly line से question आ जाता है. You cannot afford to not read that. Okay. This is about world history. Always keep in mind just 2 questions. Put in your effort according to that. जहाँ पर effort की ज़्यादा need है, there will read. Okay. इसके बाद we come to the society part. Society part of paper 1. How many questions we're dealing with here? If you see, well, 5 to 8 questions, 5 to 7 questions, not 8 nowadays. 5 questions for sure. Now, I guess this is the most easiest part of the paper and it has such a huge weightage that, you know, also the topics are so less. So, अगर आप सारे syllabus के topics भी कर जाएंगे, this is more than sufficient. 5 to 7 questions is a lot, you know. आप इतना सारा history पढ़ के, you see, we are dealing with 4 questions here. And यहाँ पे directly, you know, 8 or 9 topics are given और उसमें से अगर 7 topics they are asking, you see the little amount of effort that we put in it is paying off. So again, I'll say do not take it for granted because questions are, आप जब questions देखेंगे, they look like very very normal questions like effect of globalization on youth. It looks like a very very simple questions. But if you take a pen and you start writing, I think you would not be able to make 7 to 8 pointers, what is required for a 15 marker question. Okay. So it would be better if you give it a thought, advance may, and you prepare a little smaller notes according to the topics given. So 1 page per topic. 1 page per topic. Notes. Please, this is the only part where I am telling you to prepare notes of your own. Because आप कोई भी material लेंगे, it deals with that particular topic in very very descriptive and very very wide form, which we do not need. So you see the previous year questions, then you see the syllabus, and then you know you have to analyze how are they asking questions from syllabus. Okay, like the first topic here is globalization. Yeah. The first topic is not globalization. Salient features of Indian society, diversity of India, that is quite a general term. Effects of globalization on Indian society. And now, when you read globalization, apart from the economic definition of globalization and the economic impact, you have to analyze it on society. It might be effect on women, it might be effect on nation, it might be on, you know, youth as we talked about, it might be on economy. आपको यू नो एक स्टार डायग्राम बना के टॉपिक को एनालाइज करना है दैट इसको किस किस तरीके से पूछा जा सकता है एंड यू कैन कोराबोरेट दैट एनालिसिस विद द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चन कि इस टॉपिक में से कैसे आया. आप क्वेश्चन बैंक प्लीज खरीद लीजिएगा मेंस का टॉपिक वाइज वाला क्वेश्चन बैंक खरीदेगा सो दैट व्हेन यू सी द ग्लोबलाइजेशन यू डायरेक्टली सी व्हाट आर द क्वेश्चंस आस्क्ड. नाउ फॉर ग्लोबलाइजेशन since मेरा sociology optional है so I do not have to put in much effort in this section because I already read it in optional. But here I am telling you according to a person जिसका कि नहीं है optional और GS में आपको कितना bare minimum चाहिए. तो ग्लोबलाइजेशन का विजन का क्लास नोट्स होता है दैट इज़ वेरी वेरी नाइस. सोसाइटी के क्लास नोट्स होते हैं जो आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट द इंटायर नोट्स, आई डू नॉट रेफर टू देम इन इंटायरिटी, बट as far as globalization is concerned they are written very very decently. Okay, so it's maybe 8 to 9 pages of notes. उसमें से जब आप अंडरलाइन करोगे you'll hardly get 8 to 9 points and you can just write down on one page. So you read it and then you jot it down on your single page, which becomes your reference for revision. Okay, you do not have to go back to those notes again and again. You do not have to read the entire story. Right? Globalization. Then we have role of women and women's organization. Women. So women is a topic. We are very, very sure that 1 to 2 questions are asked from this topic all the time. And same will deal with in GS2 as well. GS2 में भी आपका जो vulnerable section है in social justice part of GS2 paper, there we deal with women. Now, how do we analyze this topic? What can be asked? Problems हम एक लिख सकते हैं. What are all the efforts which have already been put up by government, by civil society for the emancipation of women, for the empowerment of women? What is not working? Like what are the loopholes? This was, I guess, exact question this year as well. Why are welfare schemes which are meant for women are not working? Why is position not really, why are they not empowered as much as the amount of money and effort and everything which is government putting in, right? So what are the problems, the efforts, what are the loopholes in the efforts, what is required, and the government's stance. Like जो आपका suppose नेशनल वुमेन्स पॉलिसी होगा, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट प्रोग्राम्स होंगे, बेटी बचाओ बेटी पढ़ाओ है, या इंस्टीट्यूशनल डिलीवरी के लिए है, मातृवंदन योजना वगैरह. लाइक यू हैव टू सी सेक्टोरली भी एजुकेशन में वुमेन के लिए क्या हुआ, हेल्थ में क्या हुआ है, ऑल ऑफ दैट स्टफ that comes here. And then suggestions, nice examples, nice case studies, जहाँ से भी आप लेना चाहो, है ना. यहाँ पे भी विजन का नोट्स आर नाइस, बट आई से कि जब आप GS2 में प्रिपेयर करते हैं एंड इफ़ यू सिट डाउन एंड एनालाइज दिस टॉपिक, आई थिंक यू विल बी एबल टू राइट इन अ बेटर सेंस. या फिर क्या, यू कंसल्ट योजना हियर. हर साल विमेन स्पेसिफिक इशू आता है योजना का एवरी ईयर. तो अगर आप प्रीवियस ईयर्स के भी देखेंगे, इफ़ यू आस्क शॉपकीपर तो वो आपको दे देंगे. योजना का इशू वुड बी बेटर हियर, राइट. तो डिच द विजन का नोट्स एंड go with Yojana. This will deal with all the problems, the solution, the efforts, loopholes in the efforts, suggestion part, good case studies, good examples, everything. Okay. This is about women. Then we have communalism, regionalism, secularism. I am talking about topics which are given in syllabus. Only the topics. We are preparing on that only. We are not going to read entire societies, right? And then we have social empowerment. This is quite a general topic. Social empowerment, we really don't know. And yeah, urbanization, poverty, and issues. Now you see poverty is coming again. We will deal with it exclusively in GS2 as well. Here also, poverty is coming in, right? And then it's their problems and remedies. All these things and their problems and remedies. Now you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and other normal Indian societies topics if you want to deal with. Let us say caste. Caste we have to. Caste and class direct questions पूछ लेते हैं. So it's better to prepare that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I told you there are 9 topics and we are getting 6 to 7 questions. So basically हर एक topic से एक question पूछा जा रहा है. So if you prepare 9 pages on these, you are done. You're good to go, isn't it? And मैंने आपको pointers बताए कि आप किस तरीके से prepare करेंगे. You see the, let us say we'll talk about urbanization. Okay? अर्बनाइजेशन में सबसे पहले आपको क्या पता होना चाहिए, है ना. लेट्स डील कि हम नोट्स कैसे बनाएंगे अर्बनाइजेशन. सबसे पहले यू नीड टू नो व्हाट इज अर्बनाइजेशन, द प्रिसाइज डेफिनेशन. तो मेंस एग्जाम इज अ लिटिल अनप्रिडिक्टेबल, बट जहाँ पर भी सिलेबस गिवन है यू हैव टू कीप इन माइंड कि यू हैव टू जो चीज़ आप प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो उसमें आपको वहाँ पर ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग नहीं करनी है, सोचना नहीं है. so that you have to you leave with a little time to think for the questions which are not expected or which are unpredictable questions. अगर ये टॉपिक्स गिवन है आपके यहाँ पे एंड यू कैन प्रिपेयर देम, सो वाई नॉट इन एडवांस. आप अर्बनाइजेशन की बढ़िया से डेफिनेशन प्रिपेयर कीजिए, right? Then what do you have to know? You have to know ki, what is the percentage of urbanization in India and the data, okay, according to latest census or some kind of survey. But mind it, source has to be given right there and then. अगर आप पेपर में सोर्स लिखते हो, कोई भी आप डेटा लिखते हो, कुछ भी आप लिखते हो वैल्यू एडिशन का, you have to make it credible and a legit source. You have to mention it, okay? तो अर्बनाइजेशन का हमें रेट ऑफ अर्बनाइजेशन वहाँ से पता लग जाएगा. देन हाउ मच ऑफ द पॉपुलेशन इज लिविंग इन अर्बन एरियाज इन इंडिया, दैट टू, दैट इज द फैक्चुअल पार्ट जो आपका रेडी इंट्रोडक्शन बन जाएगा अर्बनाइजेशन के लिए. कोई भी क्वेश्चन आएगा, यू कैन राइट द डेफिनेशन, यू कैन गिव द डेटा, दैट इज अबाउट अर्बनाइजेशन. उसके बाद क्या प्रॉब्लम्स होंगी हमारे पास? उसके बाद हमारे पास what are the disadvantages of living in an urban area, what are the problems that we deal with, right? अब वहाँ पर आपका हाउसिंग प्रॉब्लम हो सकता है, आपका पॉवर्टी हो सकता है, आपका क्राइम हो सकता है, आपका अनप्लान्ड डेवलपमेंट हो सकता है, लाइक स्लम एरिया. डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आया है स्लम एरिया से. और भी बहुत हो सकता है, लाइक कोविड में आप देखिए कैसे साइकोलॉजिकल भी लोग इतना अफेक्ट हुए हैं. इट्स मोर सो इन अर्बन एरियाज. वाई? देन हेल्थ प्रॉब्लम्स हो सकता है, द सेडेंट्री लाइफ स्टाइल एंड नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीज दैट स्प्रेड्स मोर, दे स्प्रेड मोर इन अर्बन एरियाज. तो इन पॉइंटर्स पे की प्रॉब्लम्स क्या हो सकती हैं, and there would be plethora of problems, 8 to 9 problems. Then उन प्रॉब्लम्स का जो आपके प्रॉब्लम होंगे करस्पॉन्डिंग आप सोल्यूशन देयर एंड देन प्रिपेयर कर सकते हो. तो व्हेन आई से कि हाउसिंग का प्रॉब्लम है, लेट अस से डेंसिटी है जो वो बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो यू नीड टू नो द नंबर्स डेंसिटी में. अगेन व्हेन यू गो बैक टू सेंसस कि व्हाट आर द मोस्ट डेंस स्टेट्स, द लीस्ट डेंस स्टेट्स, एंड हाउ इज़ लाइफ अफेक्टेड विद दैट काइंड ऑफ डेंसिटी. तो यू सी मेट्रोपॉलिटन एरियाज हैं जो हमारे, सपोज दिल्ली भी है या बॉम्बे है, डेंसिटी इतनी ज़्यादा हो गई है दैट वी डू नॉट हैव क्वालिटी लिविंग स्पेसेस. उसकी वजह से स्लम ड्वेलिंग बहुत ज़्यादा हो गई है, राइट? उसकी वजह से फिर इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट है वो भी अफेक्ट होगी. प्लान डेवलपमेंट है जो एक लेआउट होता है सिटी का, दैट विल ऑल्सो बी अ प्रॉब्लम, राइट? एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव तो वेल वेरी वेरी ऑब्वियसली दैट बिकम अ वेरी वेरी कम्बरसम थिंग. तो आपको कनेक्ट करना है. प्रॉब्लम्स आपने लिख ली अर्बनाइजेशन, फिर आप सोल्यूशंस उनके सोचिए. देन अगेन बेस्ट एग्जाम्पल्स एंड केस स्टडीज सर्च कीजिए गूगल से. दिस इज, ये बस आपको लग रहा है कि थोड़ा सा हेफ्टी काम है, बट इट्स नॉट. आप वन टॉपिक कैन बी डेल्ट विद इन लेट अस से 2 hours, इवन इफ यू स्टार्ट फ्रॉम स्क्रैच. आप गूगल भी करेंगे तो भी आप अर्बनाइजेशन पे इस तरीके से नोट्स बनाएंगे विच आई वॉन्ट यू टू मेक. अब आप उसके लिए हेल्प के लिए आप किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूट के भी आप सोशल इश्यूज़ का नोट्स कंपाइलेशन आप ले लीजिए, इनसाइट्स ले लीजिए, विजन ले लीजिए, ओनली IAS का ले लीजिए. इट्स क्वाइट डिसेंट, आई हैव सीन. बट अगेन आपको हमेशा दिमाग में रखना है कि इस नोट्स में से व्हाट आई हैव टू एक्चुअली यूज़ फॉर द फाइनल पेपर, राइट? एंड वैसे भी व्हेन यू मेक योर ओन नोट्स, उनका जो रिटेंशन पावर होगा दैट विल ऑलवेज बी बेटर, राइट? So problems we dealt with, solution we dealt with, then best case studies, best examples. Again, for this also you have to always keep in mind कि अगर योजना का कोई issue आया है, which there would be, urbanization is a very very common topic, and there would be some issue on urbanization, you can just Google it down. तो वहाँ से भी आप use कीजिए case studies, because why am I again and again focusing on योजना and Kurukshetra? Will deal with that in GS3, because these are 2 magazines which government is printing it, government is publishing it. So that is your legit data, your best examples, case studies, which is there, which has been accepted worldwide, which is accepted nationwide, right? So वहाँ से भी आप देख सकते हैं. And last में you have to see the efforts. Urbanization से related क्या welfare schemes हैं, क्या programs हैं, whatever is happening, right? That and the way forward, what you think should be done more to improve upon those indicators. तो दैट्स जस्ट वन एग्जाम्पल हाउ हम सोसाइटी में हर एक टॉपिक को डील करते हैं, नोट्स बनाते हैं. आई हैड माई नोट्स फॉर एवरी टॉपिक. इवन व्हेन आई हैड सोशियोलॉजी एज एन ऑप्शन, आई स्टिल प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दिस, राइट? बिकॉज जब आपने ऑप्शनल पढ़ा होता है, यू समटाइम्स टेक थिंग्स फॉर ग्रांटेड, एंड द थिंग्स विच आर आस्क्ड इन एन ऑप्शनल एंड थिंग्स विच आर आस्क्ड इन GS आर क्वाइट डिफरेंट. ओके, so I had around 10 to 15 pages for these 9 topics. And I made it more concise throughout my revision again and again, right? And I've told you sources, I've told you topics, I've told you how to prepare the notes and keep them handy for revision. आपको इस तरीके से आपके notes prepare करने हैं, especially for a paper like this GS1, that you can revise them within 2 hours. जो you have to keep the bare minimum time. You just have 50 pages for your revision, and you can be done with the revision in 2 hours. That is the kind of crisp notes that we are talking here. So we are dealing with least number of sources here. I've not prescribed you any book for society. I've not prescribed you any separate book either for modern history or post-independence or world history. This is all what you have already read in prelims, but you are making use, you are, practically applying that knowledge, which is what is required in mains examination. This was about history. Then we are just left with geography. Can I write geography here? Okay. Just give me a second. Society, I am erasing it. I hope all of you have noted down. Geography. Geography may, again, the number of questions are around 5 to 7, more like society. Sometimes 5 questions from society, 7 from here. Sometimes 7 from society, 5 from here. Similar weightage. इसमें आपको क्या चाहिए? You read NCERTs, again the same books, +1 +2. One is your Indian physical geography and one is world physical geography hai. The green book and the bluish book which are there. The same that we dealt in preliminary examination. After reading these books, you will be able to come to a broad classification of geographical topics which are asked in UPSC. How? Suppose when you read physiography, whether it the world geography, whether the Indian geography, we see Earth's interior. Okay. Then we see climate part, climate and water related. I am clubbing it. And what else is left? What else is left? Okay, just a moment. You see, Earth's interior में हम क्या deal करेंगे? Volcanism, earthquake, plate tectonics, all of that. Yeah, vegetation. Vegetation. Vegetation को आप climate के साथ club भी कर सकते हो. Then this is climate. This is the ocean part. Ocean and water part. So either we are dealing with land, the interior, the atmosphere, or the water part. Like basically इन्हीं में deal करते हैं ना physiography को. Earth's interior में I told you again, अब जैसे आप ये classification कर दोगे, you will get to know the important topics. और अब when you see exact topics आपके NCERT से पूछे हुए हैं, very very simple topics. I don't know why do people not prepare geography again for mains. It's just the NCERT that is enough for you. Vegetation may sometimes they ask from environment as well, which we prepare either way in GS3 and very very general questions. I'll come back to that. So earth interior में volcanism, earthquake है, volcanism के through tsunamis भी आ जाती हैं. Although there is separate part for disaster management as well, वहाँ भी we prepare them. But वहाँ पर जो हमारी थोड़ी सी strategy होती है, it's a little different. Here we have to know how does volcanism occur. फिर कोई भी डायग्राम होगा एनसीईआरटी में वल्केनिज्म का, हाँ या प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स इज लेफ्ट अगेन. प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स वल्केनिज्म में लैंड फॉर्म्स भी हैं. डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन आता है इसमें बैथोलिथ लाइकोलिथ वाला जो हम पढ़ते हैं. आप चैप्टर जब पढ़ोगे तो उसमें से आपको मेजर जो चंक है उसका टॉपिक का वो देखना है कि किस बारे में. प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स से जब शुरू होता है, सो यू सी डिफरेंट प्लेट्स, द वर्ल्ड मैप विच इज गिवन. You have to, always keep in mind कि geography के questions में, if they are asking you 5 to 7 questions, you have to try making map in every question, and it would be possible. I'm sure it would be possible. But फिर भी, at least what is given in NCERT has to be made, right? तो आप यहीं पर देखिए, आप topic के साथ you demarcate कि what kind of map am I going to make. Write in your notes that when if volcanism comes, I have to make that map where one ocean plate, one continental plate, one is subsiding before other, और कैसे वो जो हमारे जो हमारा जो पूरा चैनल बनता है जहाँ से वल्केनिज्म स्टार्ट होता है, जो हमारा पूरा करंट बनता है, कैसे वल्केनिज्म होता है, वो एग्जाम्पल. अगर लैंड फॉर्म्स आते हैं तो आप पूरा अर्थ इंटीरियर में बैथोलिथ, लेकोलिथ, लोपोलिथ है ना, सिल डाइक वो बना सकते हो. इट्स गिवन इन एनसीईआरटी. प्लेट टेक्टोनिक्स में अगेन देयर आर डिफरेंट प्लेट्स विच आर मेड ऑन वर्ल्ड मैप. आप वो बना सकते हैं, राइट? व्हाट एल्स? अर्थक्वेक में आप रिंग ऑफ फायर इजीली दिखा सकते हैं कि कैसे वो हो रहा है, एंड क्वेश्चंस हैव बीन आस्क्ड। आप प्लीज एक बार ज्योग्राफी के प्रीवियस ईयर देखिए, आपको एग्जैक्ट यही क्वेश्चंस मिलेंगे। हाउ डज वोल्केनिज्म अकर? इट्स एज सिंपल एज दैट। You have to just write the mechanism, you have to make the diagram, you have to label the diagram as well. Yeah, this is one thing which I was forgetting. Label the diagram and then address whatever context is being asked in question. Okay, just this year also volcanism, question from volcanism was asked. Why? Because there were so many volcanoes which were erupted throughout the year. So that was a contemporary thing which was going on. They went from current to static. Volcanism was asked. Earthquake can be asked again. Then you would write, how does earthquake occur? With the related diagram. This P and S waves ka diagram is already given in NCRT. We have dealt with 3-4 topics here. All the diagrams are given in NCRT. The procedure is given there and then. अगर आप ना भी लिखना चाहे तो you go back to those NCRTs, revise them again and again. That is your notes itself. Everything is given. But just keep in mind, how do you use that knowledge, right? This was Arts Interior. Now, climate. क्लाइमेट में आप स्टार्ट करेंगे प्रेशर बेल्ट्स जो दिया हुआ है हमारा, सेल्स दी हुई हैं इंटायर, विंड्स का टाइप दिया हुआ है, देयर इज दिस डायग्राम, हेडली सेल, पोलर सेल, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज गिवन, how different pressure belts are formed, how different climates are affected by those pressure belts, those wind system, all of that. And then you deal with what kind of climate occurs where. इसके लिए you can also see GC Leong, which is optional. I told you yesterday as well. Climate part is a little important here. GC Leong should also be seen because उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा descriptive है. Again, but if you do not have time, just take any kind of notes for climate. NCRT also deals with a lot of stuff. Prevailing winds भी deal करता है, precipitation deal करता है, types of precipitation. More or less everything is given here. But just vegetation के लिए, if you feel, you can see that also. It's given in a more nice sense, more description, more detail. Climate, vegetation and climate we dealt with here only. Then ocean. ओशन में आप क्या डील करेंगे? ओशन करंट्स डील करेंगे, हाउ आर दे फॉर्म्ड, व्हाट आर द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस, उनका जो लोकेशन है ना, जैसे पूरे वर्ल्ड मैप पे कोल्ड करंट और वार्म करंट्स हैं, किस तरीके से मूव होते हैं, हाउ व्हाट आर द कंडीशंस रिक्वायर्ड, है ना, एंड रिलेटेड फिनोमिनाज एज वेल. ओशन करंट में जैसे एकमन स्पायरल है, वाटर मास का क्वेश्चन, दिस वाज वेयर इट वाज आस्क्ड फ्रॉम. सिमिलरली एयर मास का क्वेश्चन अगर आता है, दैट कम्स फ्रॉम क्लाइमेट. साइक्लोन का अगर क्वेश्चन आता है, दैट कम्स फ्रॉम क्लाइमेट या योर एंटायर विंड सिस्टम. तो जब आप एनसीईआरटी में वो चैप्टर पढ़ोगे, यू सी कि उस चैप्टर के अंडर स्मॉलर टॉपिक्स क्या गिवन है. जैसे जहाँ पर आई गेस साइक्लोन गिवन है, दे हैव मेड अ वेरी वेरी ब्यूटीफुल पिक्चर, ब्यूटीफुल डायग्राम ऑफ साइक्लोन, राइट, एंड एवरी पार्ट इज लेबल्ड. देन दे हैव डेल्ट विद विच पार्ट इज अफेक्टेड हाउ. जब लैंडफॉल होता है तो कौन सा पार्ट आता है, जो आई है वो सबसाइडिंग रीजन है, दैट इज काम रीजन. हाउ डज ऑल ऑफ इट हैपन्स, दैट इज राइट गिवन हियर ओनली, राइट. तो ब्रॉडली हमें क्लासीफाई करके टॉपिक्स निकालने हैं, उनका मैकेनिज्म पढ़ना है, प्रोज एंड कॉन्स यानी प्रॉब्लम्स एंड सॉल्यूशंस पढ़ने हैं, एंड देन डायग्राम वी हैव ऑलरेडी डेल्ट विद द डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ प्रोसीजर्स एसोसिएटेड विद दैट टॉपिक. ओके. ओशन में अगेन ओशन करंट्स का तो डायरेक्टली क्वेश्चन आता है. ऑन वर्ल्ड मैप यू हैव टू मेक डिफरेंट वार्म करंट्स एंड कोल्ड करंट्स, हाउ डू दे मीट, व्हाट आर द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज ऑफ इट. टाइड्स भी एक क्वेश्चन हो सकता है इधर, है ना. ओशन में थोड़ा सा टाइड्स भी गिवन है, यानी द लेसर टॉपिक. हर एक बड़े वाले जो हम क्लासिफिकेशन हमने ज्योग्राफी का किया है, इन ऑल ऑफ देम देर आर सेवरल इंपॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स विच आर गिवन. This is about geography. Then a little about environment. Geography में if you see 3 to 4 questions are coming from core geography. Okay. Just suppose if they ask about Indian monsoon, that will go in climate. But when they ask about, let us say, corals, ice cap or glaciers, what else? Mangroves, ozone, ocean acidification. This is our environment and ecology part. We read about these in GS3 for sure. बट फिर भी अगर आपको यहाँ पर सेपरेटली प्रिपेयर अगर करना है ये, तो you can go to Shankar IAS book and you can again make notes. Please see previous year questions first, right? And then there are also asking water related questions. Sometimes, okay, that will come in disasters. Sometimes floods. Sometimes something else, groundwater depletion and all of that. वो थोड़ा सा डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट में चला जाता है. तो ज्योग्राफी में 3 तरीके की चीज़ें डील हो रही हैं. Either there is this environment and ecology part where these are the kind of topics. Okay. इसके अलावा if some topic is in news like polar stratospheric clouds was in news, polar vortex was in news, last year it was in news, so automatically that goes here. This is because we read current, so we know that there is this new topic which has come for geography in environment and ecology part, and these are more or less the conventional topics. इसमें भी you made your notes on the same pointers. You can also take forum IAS notes on this. They are quite nice. Do not read them entirely. Just see these topics, and with them also see natural resources, you know, their location and everything. This is also given in syllabus, and usually they do ask one question. They do ask one question from here. Natural resources. Just a moment, I'll read out the syllabus. Yeah, distribution of key natural resources across the world. Factors responsible for the location of primary, secondary, and tertiary sector of industries in various parts of the world. That part. I'm also clubbing agriculture here because that is also a kind of natural resource. One question is usually asked from here, 2 from here, 3, and usually 3 questions from core geography. 6 questions for sure they are asking in geography. Okay, so for this entire part, I am recommending forum IAS notes, geography notes, but not in entirety. Matlab they have other topics as well, which I want you to read from NCERT, and these topics which otherwise आपको क्या होगा कि if you do not take the ready reference material, you will have to make notes on your own, which can be a little tedious. आप search करोगे and then you make them. You can just directly use that reference, right? This was about entire geography. Now what are we left with in paper 1? Last topic is disaster, natural disasters. 1, 2, 3 questions. Sometimes 1, sometimes 2. Now, whatever is mentioned in syllabus, that disaster you have to prepare for sure. Uske alawa, what is happening in present context when we read current, especially towards the conclusion of our preliminary preparation. So, you always have to keep in mind that these are the disasters which are coming nowadays, and this can be asked in mains examination. So, please do not discard current altogether when you are done with your preliminary examination. Okay? You do not have to rely on compilations even for preliminary. Even for mains examination. That is very, very unfortunate that you do not, you haven't prepared for mains and you just see, mains 365 or something. That's not done. You have to prepare it. Okay. So yeah, natural disasters, earthquake, tsunami, volcanic activity, cyclone. You see this we've already dealt with. This is here. Volcanism, earthquake, tsunami, cyclone. 4 things are already done in core geography. So you do not need to do these again. बस यहाँ पर आप add क्या करोगे? There we have done how does that earthquake occur? What are the geographical locations of it occurring? What are the factors responsible for the occurrence of that disaster? Now we are adding upon how does it affect man and property? What is the vulnerability in India for that particular earthquake? Vulnerability mapping वो आपसे पूछ सकते हैं. And then NDMA guidelines. That suppose earthquake has happened. Now they can ask you suggestions. What can be done? What should be done? What are the factors? वो factors हम इधर से पढ़ रहे हैं ना geography से. Factors responsible for occurrence of that earthquake and where is it occurring? That is your vulnerability mapping, whether on world scale or national scale, right? उसके अलावा the effects, how is it causing disruption in our daily life, and suggestions. Now you are nobody to give suggestions on an earthquake, right? You have to know the official government stance. Where would that come from? That would come from NDMA guidelines. This is a template. How do you prepare every kind of disaster? These are just natural disasters. There can be man-made disasters as well, like fire hazard है या crowd control है. इस तरीके के the new heat wave also है. It's in part natural, in part anthropogenic. New kind of disasters are also occurring, man-made disaster, industrial accidents बहुत सारे हुए हैं. So that also become very, very important here. In fact, all these traditional disasters have already been asked, UPSC has exhausted them already. These new disasters, the human-induced disasters which are coming upon, these are even more important for you. So natural disasters may, I have told you how do you have to prepare a topic, and if you want a ready reference material, what I recommend here is only IAS notes. Only IAS, they give some 30 to 40 page note. They are dealing with our policy framework, Sendai framework, India's क्या natural disaster का preparation strategy क्या है, mitigation strategy क्या है. This is also going to help you in GS3, right? So this is quite comprehensive. You can directly deal with them. Okay. Yes. So we have concluded GS1 entirely with subjects, with sources, and a little example, a little insight into how do we have to prepare it, how we have to use it in writing our answer, and then we'll also deal with them in answer writing strategy. Okay.